What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy and I'm coming at you with another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Jazwares Micro Galaxy Squadron, the Razor Crest from The Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm really feeling the hype for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and when all the merch between the action figures and all the other kinds of toys got revealed at New York Toy Fair, I was really feeling the hype even more. I have a viewer and ARC Trooper in the Blitz Transmissions Patreon to thank for getting this set early. This is from BSum75 in the Blitz Transmissions Patreon, a great community member here in the Blitz Brigade. BSum, thank you for thinking of me when you found this at one of your local Walmarts and thinking to send it my way. I'm really excited to be reviewing it for you all today. To my knowledge, this version of the Razor Crest is a Walmart exclusive here in the US, and to my knowledge there's going to be a slightly different version that will also include Zeb in his appearance from that same movie as a Target exclusive, but that's coming out a little bit later. This vehicle is part of the Starship class, and this is the standard style of packaging, although box size may vary between different vehicles in the Starship class. Up here on the front of the box we have the Star Wars logo and our Mandalorian and Grogu logo. They seem to have gone with the alternate logo for it, not the one that we keep seeing on the trailers and movie posters here. You also see your Jazwares logo up here at the top right, a nice big plastic window showing you our vehicle and our figures down here. We have the Mandalorian and Grogu, and then we also have the weapons rack, which is an accessory that goes inside the vehicle. We'll talk about that later. Down below the window we have our Micro Galaxy Squadron logo. We also have our little tab here that says this is part of Series 9 of this line, and then over here we have a really cool illustration image of the ship in action. Really excited to see this nice bright shiny version of the Razor Crest in the movie. And then down there we have the name of the vehicle, as well as that it is number 235 for the Micro Galaxy Squadron lineup. On this side of the packaging we have a really nice illustration of the new Razor Crest flying away from an unknown planet with our Star Wars logo here. On the back of the box here we have our standard style of packaging for most Micro Galaxy Squadron vehicles. We have a hologram image of the vehicle and all the different features that it has. As far as I know, this is the exact same sculpt as the original Razor Crest, which came out with Series 1. We'll see as we go further into the review if there are any huge differences here. We have our little cutout card for either display or trading purposes. This little tab here says that this is part of the Starship class once again, and then on this side of the box we have a little bit of our wraparound window, our Star Wars logo, and again just a couple of the features like some removable panels and our little ramp which drops down. Micro Galaxy Squadron logo there again, and really cool, the Razor Crest in Arabesh. On the bottom of the box we have all our legalese. Guys, please don't feed this vehicle to your babies. And then on the top of the box we have a little bit more of a wraparound window and our Star Wars and Micro Galaxy Squadron logos. So I think we've talked about the packaging quite enough here. Let's get this puppy opened and we'll check it out. Alright guys, here is the Crest out of the packaging. This is a great first taste of the merchandise for this new movie. Again, I'm so hyped, so I'm going to try to quell my excitement for the film while I'm reviewing this piece here. Let's take a look at the minifigure that we get here, that being of course the Mandalorian with Grogu. You can see his name down there, you can see our figure, and again that weapons rack, which again for some reason they decided to show off with the figure. On the back here we have our little blue grid background with the little illustration of the character as well. Alright guys, first let's take a look at our one minifigure here, technically two. It is the Mandalorian with Grogu here. So this is the same sculpt that we've had several times over for the Mandalorian in this line. However, they have a new sculpt for the jetpack. You can see his cape that drapes off to the side of the jetpack, or the Rising Phoenix, as the armorer calls it, is there with a little added piece for Grogu. I've noticed this about a lot of the toys and all the different toy lines here, that our Grogus tend to be hanging over Din's shoulder. This is a convenient place for him to go, and I like that it's a new way for us to have Grogu in the Micro Galaxy lineup. As for Din himself, it looks like he's done just on a base brown sculpt with some really nice shiny metallic silver paint. As the Micro Galaxy Squadron line has grown and evolved, they have gotten really good at getting more and more intricate and more fine with the details on these little figures here. You can see he's got silver paint for the helmet as well as the chest piece underneath the bandolier. You can see both of the shoulder pauldrons are painted in silver, as well as both of his gauntlets, both pieces of knee armor, his thigh armor as well. You can see a little bit of brown paint on the front of the left boot there, and then on the back of the right boot. You can also see a little bit of brown striping there as well. Of course, with Grogu, he is done with a little bit of a nice pale green to match his skin tone in the movie, and then we have our black and our silver for the jetpack and the cape. Something I might note as well is that the jetpack with Grogu and the cape can all be removed. You can see that this is all one sculpted piece. There is a peg that goes into Din's back there. That's how that goes together. Now, with the original Razor Crest, Din could have his jetpack removed and it would attach to this piece here. So this is basically an accessory. This is his weapon rack. You can see all different kinds of blasters that are sculpted in there, like something very similar to Boba Fett's EE3, a Stormtrooper E11. You can also see, I believe this is the DH-17, or it might be this blaster up here, this pirate-looking blaster, the DH-17. Either way, we have some really nice blasters, different thermal detonators and stuff. I'm not sure if it's going to work with this. Yeah, you can still technically put it on this weapon rack. It's not exactly going to pass the shake test, but the concept is the same as the original Razor Crest release. On the back here, it's got some nice textured sculpting here, but aside from that, no paint apps on this piece whatsoever. Real quick, I did also just want to run through the Mandalorian's articulation, which is standard for the Micro Galaxy Squadron line. We have 2 points of articulation here. We have a rod that goes through the shoulders, that gives you a 360-degree swivel. Both of the arms swivel together. If you try to do it independently, they might break. And there is a rod that runs through the hips that acts as a hinge, so you can bring the legs forward, get him in a seated position. I do also want to point out, they did sculpt in his holster for his blaster pistol there. That is a nice touch. Overall, I'm really impressed with how good they've gotten with the paint and the sculpt details on these little figures. And here we have the Razor Crest here, guys. I'm so excited to be checking out this vehicle in hand here. One of the things that I always praise the Micro Galaxy Squadron team for is how well they do with panel lining and weathering, giving a dark wash to the hulls of the vehicles, really helping to bring out all the effort that they put into the sculpted detail of the hulls. What I don't see on this product is exactly that, and it took me a second to remember that this is a brand new Razor Crest, and while according to Jon Favreau it is a one-to-one duplicate of the one that we saw in the first couple seasons of The Mandalorian, it is a different ship, and it being brand new, obviously it's not going to have all the wear and tear that comes with dogfighting, so hopefully by the end of the film we see this thing in action enough to get it some carbon scoring of its own. The base sculpt is not the shiniest silver I've ever seen, but since they're not painting the vehicle silver, I can understand why it looks a little dull. It's also got a little bit of marbling to it. You'll see in different parts of the sculpt some not imperfections, but just areas where it's a little bit more glossy. That does also help when it catches the light to give it more of a metallic look and feel. As far as the paint apps go, this Razor Crest has quite a bit more of the yellow than the original Razor Crest here. Now, the only Razor Crest I have in my collection other than this one is the damaged one from Arvala 7, where it has all the removable panels, and looking at this vehicle here, it looks like this might have the same removable panels as that one. So essentially, again, this is just a repaint, but considering it's a different ship, I'm actually really happy with this one. Unlike the original Razor Crest, this Razor Crest has quite a bit more yellow paint, and I think they chose a very good, vibrant color for that yellow. You could tell that some pieces are painted a little bit more lightly than others, but I think it all still pops very, very nicely. We can also see a little bit more of a shinier metallic silver at the tips of the nose guns here. That looks great. Our big twin engines are done very nicely with some light silver paint apps on the front of the engine pods. On the back of the engine pods, you can see just a little bit more of that silver and almost like a copper color here at the back with some nice, again, bright yellow for the exhaust ports here. I love to see the details like that on these ships. And then on the top of the ship here as well, you can see a little bit more of that silver paint to show some of the machinery inside the vehicle. And then on the sides here, on these yellow stripes, you can also see little bits of black and silver that are printed on there just to give it that extra little detail there. Overall, this is a really nice looking vehicle. The sculpt looks great, especially considering the sculpt hails all the way back from the very beginnings of this line, and I was collecting this line since the very beginning, and it's cool to see that this still fits very nicely with the current quality of what they're doing, which is still a step above what they were even doing back then. Taking a look at the underbelly of the ship, not much to write home to aside from some very, very nice sculpted detail here. Lots of greebling, lots of panels, lots of machinery. Really, really happy with the detail all around on every angle, and that's something that the Micro Galaxy Squadron team never misses on is the consistent quality. No matter what angle you're looking at these vehicles at, they look like they belong in the universe and that they jumped right off the screen. Now, the Razor Crest has quite a few features here. So like I was talking about before, we do have some removable panels. So the paneling up here on this engine pod comes completely off. You can see they did also include some sculpted detail on the paneling on the inside. Just one little yellow paint app here, so that's cool. And then you can see no paint on the inside, but just lots of exposed machinery on the inside here. This was, again, a great detail for the Arvala 7 version of this ship, where you could, have the Jawas removing all of the panels and everything. There's another panel here on this side of the hull. Again, we have some of the yellow paint apps exposed there, and then you can also see on the inside we have some more sculpted detail, lots of greebling. That's always cool to see. And that exposes some of the interior of the ship here. You can see lots of netting in there and lots of the stuff that, if you've seen The Mandalorian show as many times as I have, you'll recognize as being consistent with the TV series and hopefully this movie. Now, this may be a little bit hard to see for this review, so I should also note there's another panel that you can remove up at the top here. The best way to do this is to pull this whole back piece up and it'll lift this whole top panel off here. This is really cool because now we have even more sculpted paneling and inner workings of the ship with this panel. And what you'll notice now is we have a really, really nice open concept for this ship. We can really get in there, do photography, do diorama setup, all that kind of stuff is going to be really easy to do now. Lots of detail in here, as you can see. The back ramp does also drop down. Technically, you can go about 90 degrees, but if you have the landing gear opened, you can get this thing to sit down and have the characters walk in and out. It is tall enough that you can actually have characters standing right at the top of the ramp and walking in and out, which is great. Another feature I'm noticing in here as well is this little piece that opens up right here. This door lifts up and you can see that inside there, that's where you would put Din's weapon rack, his little weapon closet there. So we'll insert that later before the end of the review, but I did just want to show it works on a little hinge system here. It might not be the easiest to access, but if you're having some difficulty, there's another pull tab right here on this side of the ship, and that gives you another ramp. I always think of where Din and Grogu land on that one planet with the Spotchka farmers, where Grogu's kind of standing there at the top of the ramp with Din. And then you can also see here they have even more sculpted blasters in here on another weapon rack. I think I see Bosk's Relby blaster in here. I think I see a TL-50, which is Iden Versio's blaster in the Battlefront franchise. Lots of other recognizable weapons as well. Lots of little Easter eggs just in the sculpt work here. And you can see even with just this panel open, how the light kind of shines down and hits this, gives some really cinematic feeling lighting for some photography. And then of course, let's open up the hatch. That just works on a hinge and it opens up about 90 degrees here. And you can see you have room for not one, not two, but actually 3 figures in here. There's a little peg hole in here in the center that makes me think that later they'll do another release with a Grogu, or maybe he's in a pram and you could put him in there, but you can fit 3 figures in there. And that's pretty accurate to what we see in the TV shows and the movie. So I'm pretty excited that you can actually fit multiple figures in here as well. One last feature that I want to show off, of course, is the landing gear. So you have 3 different pieces of landing gear on the bottom of the ship. So you have this one that hinges out toward the front, and those lock into place so that it won't fall under its own weight there. And then of course down here we have 2 more. These have pull tabs of their own and they should be able to just pull out from underneath there. And you can see those kind of splay out from the middle of the ship. And what I love is, again, even underneath where the landing skids are, you can see more sculpted detail. They leave no stone unturned when it comes to the sculpted detail on these vehicles. But again, leaving all the panels open, all the panels removed here, you can really get into this ship. And I love that you can get different figures in there and you can make different angles for photography and things like that. Just such a great open concept vehicle, such a great play scale vehicle as well for the kids. So now let's get everything equipped back on our vehicle here so we can get this thing ready to fly for the launch of the film. So lifting up the hinge here for the weapons rack here, it might honestly be better to bring this in from the side here rather than bringing it in from the top. But as you can see, you can lower that down and that'll stay in place. Even if you're shaking the ship around, it won't make the hinge come undone. So that weapons rack is nice and secure inside the vehicle there. And then of course, let's see, I don't know if we'll be able to have Din sitting down with his jetpack on. What I do see here is that the cape does drape over to the side here, so maybe we'll be able to make it work. Okay, so it's actually quite a tight fit here, but you can actually seat Din in the vehicle and have Grogu on his back behind him in the front seat. and I like that a lot. That is exactly what I was looking for with this particular release. That was my one worry with this, was that I wouldn't be able to have Din sitting in the cockpit with Grogu, but as you can see, you can do that. We'll bring the hatch down, and you can see them just fine through the clear plastic. That is too cool, and this really just has me excited for this movie now. Attaching all the removable panels is also really easy to do. Everything just kind of snaps into place, and again, it all passes the shake test, and Din passes the shake test as well, so that's great too. Sometimes you put these characters in there and they kind of flop around, but what's really nice is that we don't have to worry about that on this. So side panel fits in nicely, and then the top panel here, you kind of want to work it in like a hinge almost. So the big thing here is going to be sliding it in from the top and then clipping it down at the bottom. We'll bring our ramps up here, we got our landing gear down, and our vehicle is ready to go for the launch of The Mandalorian and Grogu on May 22nd. Guys, I'm so excited for the release of The Mandalorian and Grogu, and this ship is absolutely amazing for both kids and collectors alike. If you're a kid and you just saw this movie in the theater, hopefully you'll be able to go over to your local Walmart and get the Mandalorian's ship. You'll get Mando, you get Grogu, you get his little weapon rack, and there's lots of different panels and doorways to have them travel in and out of. It has a lot of play features and a lot of display value as well. I think photographers and collectors alike will really get a kick out of this one too. This is a great vehicle to have released before the movie drops, to have out on store shelves, and I hope that the general public enjoys this one just as much as I did. Once again, shout out to BSum75 in the Blitz Transmissions Patreon and a great member in the Blitz Brigade community. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for thinking of me when you picked this up at your local Walmart. But with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Become an ARC Trooper for just $4.99 a month. If you're a fan of the reviews I do here on YouTube, or you want to support the YouTube channel more directly, you could also check out my YouTube channel membership, Rancor Battalion. For just 99 cents a month, it gives you access to exclusive badges, priority replies in my comment section, you get to vote on what I review next for the channel, just like the Patreon members do, and you get to check out all my reviews early here on YouTube. If you'd like some Blitz Transmissions swag, you could always head over to the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify. Link to that is in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and all my social media. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 4-2, pick a target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm